Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Not Everybody Needs a Podcast with your host, Mackenzie Rencher. Feels so natural saying that now, like 6 months in. We're like, I don't know, 20-something episodes in, like 27 or something. I don't know, something along those lines. And it's feeling more and more natural. What is going on in your lives? What's going on in the world? Well, first and foremost, the floods in Texas have been so devastating. When I woke up and saw that this week, I was so heartbroken. I feel like Camp Mystic is obviously the biggest just heartbreak, just picturing how scared those girls were. I was sick to my stomach. Every time I see a picture or a story from it, I'm sick to my stomach. But obviously just the state of Texas in general and that entire area, it's very, very devastating. And it feels very dystopian when things like that happen, because it can happen in a flash. Like, it truly can happen so fast. It's unpredictable. Some of it's predictable, obviously, but like, I don't know, it just feels weird. And it also always feels like it can't happen to you. And not to compare, but even last September when we had the floods here, it just feels weird because you see it on the news and you're like, it just feels like this outside world, and obviously you're devastated, but just to have something like that happen, obviously I'm not in Texas, but just even in general, it just feels, you feel close to it, I guess. And thinking about the parents and the friends, and I don't know, all of that's super devastating. So we've been praying for them and thinking about them. And I was actually just at a coffee with a friend, and we were talking about how weird it is, like when things like that happen in the world and then you just scroll and you like move on, like you like get tears in your eyes and you're devastated, and then the next thing you see is like this funny video. It feels very weird. I don't know. I was just telling her that, you know, you feel this grief and you're sitting in the grief, and then you scroll and then you're laughing because it's like, oh, there's a funny thing next. I don't know. Life is weird like that sometimes, but we've been praying for them. It's my birthday this weekend. Woohoo! Very excited for that. Darian and I are getting a massage on Friday. We've had a gift cards for forever, and this is just the time that we decided to use it. But other than that, I don't know what that day is going to bring. I want to do a few of my favorite things, go to a few of my favorite coffee shops. Very exciting. And then on Saturday, I'm having my actual birthday party, and we are getting a hibachi chef to come make me and some of my best friends some hibachi, which is exciting. And I am doing a little pastel birthday theme. So I got a bunch of balloons. I got a happy birthday pastel sign. We got some cream balloons. It's just going to be, you guys can like look at all my videos. It's going to be a good old fun time. You guys know how drama I have to make things. And then we have a dessert chef coming after that to do a few different desserts. I forget the ones we picked out, so it kind of will be a surprise for me too. I know it's some kind of like apple crumble with ice cream, doing some fondue, some cookie trio layered cake. It's going to be a moment. Okay. So you guys can watch the content from that over this past weekend, because by the time you listen to this, it'll be past 26. It's kind of crazy. I think I probably will do a little bit more of like a self-discovery episode next week, where I kind of go into like turning 26 and all that comes with that. But it really is crazy every year that goes by. Like, I try to like, I don't know, just the gratitude that I feel and just where I'm at in life. Like, I just have an amazing husband. My babies are safe and loved, and we just live a very, very beautiful life. And I feel very grateful. Obviously, it doesn't mean that everything's perfect, but just the fact that we just get to celebrate life is a beautiful thing. And I used to be obsessed with my birthday. Like, I used to like, that was a national holiday for me. And through the years, it's not that I'm less excited, like not in like a depressing way at all. I think I just like, I don't know how else to word it other than like everyone has a birthday, you know? Like, everyone has a birthday once a year. So it's like, I don't know. I think I used to be like, we need to go to Fiji for my birthday or something and like make it this huge deal. But this year I'm just like, let's just have like a chill night, eat some dinner with friends, celebrate, whatever. And yeah, so I'm excited. I'll obviously give you guys like a breakdown of how it went. Maybe we'll dive deeper into my like 26th year. I mean, what do you call that? Resolutions? Not really resolution, but like just, I don't know, maybe goals. I think that would be good next week for like a little segment. what am I ready to be over? I'm ready for Love Island to be over. You know, when you stop watching something, you're like not invested in it anymore, and it's just everywhere, and you're like, we have to move on. It's over this week, guys. By the time you listen to this, we'll know who the winner is and move on. I will obviously find out through TikTok. That's how I get my like updates now that I like I'm not invested. So I think it's time for it to pass. I do. Sierra left the villa, which cancel culture is crazy. I'm obviously not excusing the whole like at all. I'm not excusing her using that word or whatever whatsoever, but cancel culture is another level. I feel like people like use it to abuse people now, which is like kind of crazy. I've seen like a lot of takes on that as well. And I don't really want to give a take on it because I can't really speak to the specific situation. But it is crazy. People get very evil. Like the death threats and all of that are another level. And she hasn't made a video yet, which is kind of crazy because she's been out for like a long time now. So I wonder if she just doesn't have anything to say, or she's just like, she's probably just stunned. I feel like she just went through a lot. So I don't know. The whole thing is crazy, and you know, hopefully she learns and it's a learning lesson for her. I feel like that's all it can be. What else? Jeff Bezos had a wedding. That was like a week and a half ago. And I don't know why it's so funny to me that people are like shocked that he spent millions of dollars on a wedding. Like, do y'all realize $20 million to him is like us going to the grocery store? Like that is like absolutely nothing. If anything, I'm stunned he didn't spend more. I am curious what it was like going to that wedding though. Like just the experience of, I mean, luxury. Again, I don't want to be mean and give my takes on like the style or whatever. Like people had a lot to say about the carpet and like all of that. I don't want to talk about that, but I do want to talk about how I'm sure the experiences that everyone had that night were crazy. Just like the luxury of it all. I don't even know where it was. Somewhere tropical, but maybe it was Greece or something, but crazy. Also just like the amount of people that went that were the amount of money at that wedding, insane. Like even from the people, I mean, there was billionaires obviously in attendance. He's a billionaire. He's beyond, he's beyond a billionaire. We need a different name for how rich he is. Someone said that he could spend, it was something like $50 million a day and it wouldn't even like dip into his wealth. Like if he lived to be 100. I don't remember the exact, I should have wrote down the numbers because it was such a crazy statistic that I was like, that really puts into perspective how much money he has. And it's wild. But everyone's acting so shocked that he spent that much money. And I'm just like, why are we? Isn't that to be expected? Like if he didn't spend that, I just realized that one of these pillows on my couch, if you're not watching, then you can't see, but the zipper was out and that's just like not cute. Anyway, we're not shocked. We shouldn't be shocked, right? I feel like if he didn't spend that much money, people would be more shocked. So anyway, you guys, I do have a bit of a confession about this podcast. Okay. There was a little bit at the end last week where I basically was like, hey guys, I think I'm going to only start doing the episodes every other Monday instead of every Monday like I do now, just so that I can give like more attention to it and we have longer episodes. And I ended up changing my mind. I do want to know what y'all's thoughts would be on if I did decide to do that, because I just ended up being like, you know, I want to commit to still doing it every week. I feel like something that maybe people don't know is that it's expensive to have a podcast for like a lot of reasons. And I don't make money on the podcast. So like I don't have sponsors. If y'all want to be praying that a sponsor will come through, I will accept those prayers. And I probably need to be praying about it too, because I also have not asked God for that. But I would love to get a sponsor because it's expensive. And it also seems like, okay, you're just sitting down once a week, like whatever. But there is a level where it's like, I don't want to just be like yapping to you guys about things that don't matter. Like I want to come with like real substance. And like, I don't like to like, I feel like talking about pop culture sometimes like comes off really judgmental or like, just like, I don't want to ever talk about people's looks or like if people are going to get divorced, like that's like so sad. And like, I don't want to give my take on certain things because I feel like it comes off like distasteful. And so I just want to be very careful about stuff like that. And then that kind of cuts out like a whole, I still talk about pop culture, but I'm just like, I try to be like tasteful about it. And so that cuts off like a lot of like what podcasts talk about. And again, I just want to come with substance, and I hope that's what you guys get every week from me. But like some weeks there just are going to be shorter episodes where it's like, I don't really have much to give. And I think that can be very discouraging. And I don't think that a lot of people share this part. There was actually a study done of Gen Z, and over 50% of them want to be influencers, which is a natural thing. I feel like you get to see like the glitz and the glam and the freedom that you get from this job. But then there's also like a side of it that can be very discouraging, and people don't really talk about it because it can come off very out of touch, because this is literally a dream job. And I never want to come off as complaining about it. So it totally makes sense. But like, there's just like a lot of sides of it that it can be pretty discouraging. Like, I don't know if this is making sense. I basically am just saying with the podcast, I want to make sure I'm bringing substance, and I want to make sure it's long enough and that you guys like are listening to something you care about. And also like, I had to prioritize growth. So like growing the listeners and like making sure that like I'm doing enough on social media to grow and like whatever. It's just like a lot of mental battles, and it could be discouraging. And I try to just like, I don't put my like hope or joy in that whatsoever. But there also comes a point where it's like, reality is I can't be like pouring all this money into a podcast where I'm not making any money, because that also doesn't make sense. So whenever I made that announcement, I started to feel like, okay, maybe this isn't the right move right now. I honestly just didn't really have peace about it. So I was like, I'm not going to do that now. I'm not saying in the future I won't ever move it to every other week, but I do want to hear y'all's thoughts on that. I saw a quote that was like, there is no tree that is expected to prune year round. And I don't know what sound just came out of my throat. Okay. But anyway, and I feel like in this job, like you are expected to prune year round, and you just have to have a growth mindset. And like, there are like all these numbers thrown on you that matter a lot, and that, you know, if certain numbers show here, then that's discouraging and whatever. And I just feel like if everyone is trying to be an influencer, one, I feel like a lot of it is luck of the draw. Like, if you are trying to be an influencer and it's not working, it's not that you're like not interesting or people don't care or like whatever. I think some of it really is just luck, because like a lot of people are trying to do that. And so that's part of it. And then the other part of it is like, I think that it's so important that we're using our gifts. And like, if everyone's trying to be an influencer, I feel like there's going to be so many gifts that people don't end up using because of that. And I'm not saying don't make content or whatever. I never am going to tell anybody, if that's what you want to do, dream big and absolutely give it a shot. But also I think like really dig into like the things that you're good at and really dive into that, because we may need another doctor, or we may need another, like we need you to be living in your gifts in order for like the world to go round, if that makes sense. And anyway, I just think there's a lot of sides that are shown to this. Like I don't talk about, because I don't want to be seen, like I don't want to come off as complaining or whatever. But yeah, I think lately I've been just a little discouraged with this podcast. And again, it's not because of like views or whatever. It's mostly just because like it just gets expensive, honestly. And I also just want to bring substance to you guys. So I hope all of that like made sense. But yeah, I would love to hear y'all's thoughts if I did move to every other week. Like, because at the end I was like, tell me y'all's thoughts about me moving to every other week. I mean, I kind of announced it, but then I denounced it. Is that a word? That's a word, but I don't know if I use that in the right context. I unannounced it because I wanted to keep doing it every week. So I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on all of that. Today I wanted to dive into being unequally yoked. I actually answered a Mackenzie's mindset question about this a few weeks ago, but I was not educated enough on the scripture side of it that I would want to be to speak on it. I gave like my opinion on what I have learned through the years and all of that, but I think it's good to talk about. I actually just posted a TikTok about it, and I basically was just saying that I think that it's very important to be equally yoked with your partner. And I kind of gave the example of, I say kind of a lot when it's a fact. Why do I do that? I should work on that. Oh, speaking of things I need to work on, can we talk about how many times I get tagged in things? How I use when and whenever interchangeably, like when you're not supposed to. Like you're supposed to say when I go to the park, and I say whenever I go to the park. Like I think it's a northern thing. It's definitely not right, but it's such a bad habit, guys. Just leave me alone. Okay, stop tagging me in the videos. I know. Anyway, I used the example that we were on a family walk the other day, and I've just been kind of snippy. Like I've just had a bad attitude recently. I can humble myself and admit my wrongs. Okay. I've been just like a little snippy, like little things will set me off. Like just like little inconveniences, or like if I'm like hungry, Darian will say one thing and I'm like just bratty basically. And Darian's kind of been like nicely calling me out on it. And I have tried to like work on it, I guess. And the other night we were on a family walk and I was like basically complaining about something. And Darian was like, do you know that a fruit of the spirit is joy? And I literally was like, dang, because he nicely really got me. Like he snapped me into place very nicely. And I was like, you know what? That's so true. And it just shows that in this area, I am operating in my flesh and not in the spirit. And I kind of tied it back to, again, why did I say kind of? I tied it back to, stop it. Okay. Anyway, I tied it back to when you are with somebody that you're not equally yoked with, they really aren't able to call you higher in those ways. And just the fact that my husband knows scripture and does his best to live in a way where he is operating in his spirit, not the flesh, like he's able to call me out in that and in a very kind and truthful way, that if I was married to somebody that did not love Jesus, wouldn't be able to do that because he wouldn't know scripture and he wouldn't be living in the spirit, not the flesh. And yeah, I was just talking about how important that is. And I was like, you know what? We got to talk about it in the podcast today. Let's do it. I was doing my research, I guess, my meditating on this a little bit and talking about where it comes from. And it comes from Corinthians 6:14. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? And I've heard that scripture before, and it didn't really, I kind of just like used my context clues without really diving into what it meant. And so once I started diving into it, I did some research on what, and by research, Google. Like I hate when people are like, I research. It's like you Googled it, period. Not saying that that's not research, but you know, sometimes I say research just to make myself sound smarter. I Googled and looked into what yoke means because, again, context is good with this topic. And really, anytime you're like talking about anything like this, like you should be doing your research on it. So what is a yoke? A yoke is a wooden beam that joins two animals, usually oxen, together so they can pull a plow or cart at the same pace and direction. If the two animals are different sizes or strength, they pull unevenly, they go in circles, or they hurt each other. When you give that kind of context to this, it changes everything. Because when you start thinking of like, okay, why would God ask us to not be unequally yoked? And obviously this is mostly talked about in marriage, so that's what I'm going to lean towards. And this topic is in your dating and in your relationships and in your marriages, why it's important. I'm saying marriage, but let's just say relationships because obviously I'm talking to the people that would be dating and looking for somebody to marry. And when you start thinking about that, why would God ask us to not do that? It's for our own good. Imagine plowing, how frustrating it would be sitting next to an ox, not sitting. Hello. I was just picturing an oxen sitting. Wait, oxen, is that the right word? Okay. Sorry, I'm dehydrated, so I actually don't have a brain right now. Anyway, so imagine you're pulling beside another oxen. Wait.
Oxen is plural.
I'm crying. Okay. So imagine you're pulling next to an ox and you're going, and you start hurting each other because they're not pulling at the same time as you and the same strength as you. And you are going unevenly. You're going in circles. You're hurting each other because you guys are not pulling at the same strength or the same length or the same whatever. And that would be frustrating, right? And it's not saying that the ox isn't cute. It's not saying that the ox doesn't make you feel good. It just means that whenever you're pulling together and you're going through life, they're not going to be able to help you. They're only going to hurt you. And I just think that that's really, really important to think about and why the context matters so much. I think it's important to ask yourself, are you going together spiritually and emotionally? Are you pulling each other in opposite directions? Because it is very easy to get caught up in, but he's a good guy, but he does this right, or he gives me flowers, or I've never met anybody like him and he compliments me, and he might not have any other red flags, but it's just that it is this one thing. He doesn't want to come to church with me, or he doesn't believe in God or whatever. And no one's saying that they're not a good person. I think that's a really frustrating thing for me as a Christian through the years, is I would get so frustrated when pastors are like, they don't love Jesus, so they're this or they're that, or they're going to be doing this. It's like, that's not always the case. Sometimes people aren't Christians and they still don't go out and get drunk, or maybe they still you could have a moral compass without being a Christian. I think it's frustrating to me when people try to pin the two against each other, and that's not the case. I know plenty of people that don't know Jesus and are actually just still amazing people. It just means that they don't love Jesus, and that is that is number one in my life, and that's what matters most to me and should matter most to you as a Christian. And it can just be very frustrating as a single person when you feel like, okay, well, I've been asking God, either give me godly friendships or give me a man who loves Jesus, or a woman. I don't know how many boys listen to this podcast. Boys, rise up in the comments and tell me if you're a boy. Okay. I feel like it's mostly women. I need to look at the analytics, but I'll say for women too, I'm looking for a godly woman, or I'm looking for a godly man, whatever. And it's easy to settle because you're like, they're the best person I've come across. But at the end of the day, there is a reason why God asks us to not be unequally yoked with people. And I don't want to share anyone's personal stories on here, but I have witnessed personal stories of when you do try to do something that's not God's way and it's your way, and you're just using the excuse of oh, they're a good person or whatever. It just never ends well. I actually was thinking about this today. There's nothing that I want to do without God's permission, or I guess that's not the right word. I just want God to back everything that I do. Therefore, I want to take everything to his feet, even if it's as little as okay, God, I want to launch this thing at this time. And I want to have his permission for that, because I want God to back everything that I do. And I basically am just saying, take it to God. Okay. And actually, one of my favorite prayers, and Darian too, is, if it's not meant to be, God, let it not happen. And it's scary to say that, because he will do it. And sometimes he just gives you a choice, and that's a beautiful thing too. We love free will. Thank you, God, for free will. But sometimes it really is God, I don't know what to do. So either just put a halt to this thing, or let me move forward, and I want to do it with your grace and mercy backing me. And yeah, I just think I get a lot of questions about this, and I just don't want anyone compromising or losing themselves to where later down the line, they wished that they just would have asked God, like, is this the person for me or not? And I just don't want anyone settling because like they're cute or it's this or it's that. I want you guys to live in your full potential and joy. And I just feel like I got reminded of that this week with Darian, where it's like, it hit so much different than him being like, you have a bad attitude, like get that together. And sometimes he does tell me that. Sometimes he is like, Mackenzie, your attitude is so bad. But just him looking at me and being like, joy is a fruit of the spirit. And I was like, you know what? Period. It hit different. It really, really did hit different. And it's really beautiful when two people walk on the same path and carry life together. And it's not about perfection. I'm not saying that, you know, this person is on the exact path as you, because I don't think that that's what it looks like. But I think it's about pursuing the same direction. And I would ask yourself if, you know, the person that you're with is doing that, and also like, don't settle until they are. Okay. A lot of beauty comes from that, and a lot of love and growth. And I've experienced that in my own life. Okay. So I hope that speaks to somebody. Let's move into Mackenzie's mindset. Also, I need, like, you guys give me what you guys want to hear. What are some topics that you want to hear? I feel like this was one that was given to me that I was like, yes. And it is speaking to me right now in life. And so obviously I automatically translates to you guys too. But yeah, what do you guys want to hear about? I read all your comments on the podcast, by the way, because this is like my main platform that I like get the least amount of like comments and stuff on. So I really do see everything, and I love you guys and very appreciative. And I do see the comments. So let me know what you want to hear, what you like, what you don't like, what your thoughts are on me moving every other week, even though I'm not going to do that right now, just in the future. If you guys like, I really feel like people like to have consistency. And so like having something that, you know, okay, Mackenzie drops on Sundays at midnight, and I know that every single week I can listen to that. And if that's your take, that's your take. And I would love to hear it. Anyway, Mackenzie's Mindsets. Mackenzie's Mindsets are a segment that I do every week where you guys give me your topics or your questions or whatever, and I give my mindset on them. So let's get into it this week. You guys can also send yours in as well. I get DMs to my personal page, but also we have a Not Everybody Needs a Podcast TikTok that you guys can go follow. Same with my Instagram, Not Everybody Needs a Podcast. And you guys can DM them there too, because it's way easier to filter through them as well. And so I can make sure to get to them. Now let's get into today's. Someone asked, is it okay to be obsessed with a man who is well known? This is funny to me because like, especially whenever I was younger, girl, I would be like obsessed with certain like celebrities or whatever. Justin Bieber, loved you. Harry Styles, loved you. Now that I'm a married woman and like older, it doesn't happen as much because like that's kind of crazy. But I think it's like, it's okay to have like a little crush and be like, he's iconic. Now obsessed, I feel like obsessed can take a lot of different meanings. Now I think if you're like thinking about this person a lot, maybe just take a step back off the socials and like try not to like search them if it's becoming an obsession. That's kind of crazy. I don't think we're really meant to be like obsessed with people we don't know like that. But I think it's okay to have like a crush and be like interested in what they have going on. I think that's fine. The other one is a little more serious. I feel like that one was quick, but someone said, please help. I admire your wisdom and perspective so much. That's very sweet. Love you. I'm in a really tough situation. I'm getting married and I'm really struggling with who to help walk me down the aisle. Deep down, I am best friends with my stepdad that has been in my life since I was born. But if I choose him, my real dad would get so angry with me and think I'm being disrespectful. And I am such a people pleaser. I'm best friends with my dad's mom. So hurting her by not choosing my dad is another aspect. I'm really struggling because I don't want anything to blow up. But my stepdad is the one who has raised me and I am best friends with. What would you do? Now, this is really difficult. I honestly don't know if I have like set advice on this. I'll give you like a different perspective. I will say the person that walks you down the aisle is who is giving you away technically. I mean, that feels like such old talk. Like it's just not very modern way to think of things. But to me, if you know in your heart that your stepdad is one of your best friends, that's not going to change if your dad walked you down the aisle. And I'm not saying if you're doing it to be a people pleaser, then don't do that. But if you're doing it to be a peacemaker, then that is a different situation. I just always try to choose the peacemaker route where it's like, it doesn't really matter that much who walks me down the aisle. Now, if this is something that you're like, this symbolizes a lot to me, then have your stepdad do it and just like, people are just gonna have to move on into your wedding day. But at the same time, if it's like, okay, it's just who's walking me down the aisle, like my real dad can do that, it's not gonna change what the meaning in your heart and your mind is with your stepdad. Like, he's still your best friend and you know that. And that's what matters most. And it's like, if you really just want to be a peacemaker, then it's like, just have your dad walk you down the aisle. It's like 10 seconds and it doesn't change anything with your stepdad, if that makes sense. So I hope that kind of is helpful. I think that you need to do whatever you need to do to be comfortable. And again, if it really, really means a lot to you symbolism wise, then have your stepdad do it. And if you feel like it's going to be tainted, if your dad walks you down the aisle and it's not going to be as special, then by all means have your stepdad do it. If you don't feel that way, have your dad do it and just like keep the peace a little bit. Now, people getting mad at you over that is kind of crazy and they don't need to be doing all that. So if you do go to your stepdad, then people getting, did I say if you do go to your stepdad, if that's not right, if you do choose your stepdad, then, and people want to get mad about that, that's where you kind of have to release and just be like, this is my wedding day and this is my choice. And you have to release the whole people pleasing thing. You have to let that go because all that's going to do is like taint the day for you. And it's your wedding day, girl. Glow and let go. Period. Okay. Well, love you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening every single week. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have been enjoying these episodes. And I saw some episodes saying that you guys like having Derry on. So I'll see if he'll come on next week. We'll see. He's a busy guy. It's hard to get him in a room. Like right now he's in Clemson. Like, what's going on? Anyway, love you guys. And you guys can follow along on YouTube if you're watching on there. If you're not subscribed, do that now. You guys can follow along on Instagram, TikTok, Not Everybody Needs a Podcast. If you guys are listening on Apple and Spotify, you guys can follow along there as well. Gosh, I just plugged so many things. Love you guys. And I will see you next week with another episode of Not Everybody Needs a Podcast. Goodbye. Mwah.